We're back, baby. It is another Platinum. It has been a long time. I do apologize, but we are back. And today, we have an absolute banger of account, so let's just jump in, shall we? Alrighty, so our person today is Ahmed, who is a long-time member of the Platinum Standard Discord, which is the community that I've been sort of really focusing on and developing these past few months. Do join it, link in the description below. If you want to talk to me more than once every 4 million months, which is the schedule I've been doing with these videos. I do apologize. We'll be back on a semi-regular sort of schedule. I'll make a community post to sort of detail what my plans are with the channel and content just in general. But Ahmed has a fantastic account. He has 400 million billion games completed, so sit down and make yourself comfortable because we're going to be here a while. I believe it is 264 platinum trophies from 296 games played. Oh boy, I'm ready. But let's dive in, shall we? So to start the list, we have A Plague Tale Innocence, which is a fantastic medieval sort of game where you essentially just do an escort quest the whole time, but it's quite good. There's a lot of rats, there's some knights, you throw some stones. It's good fun, highly recommend. We then have A Way Out, which is a co-op game. He didn't play it with me. I am now sad. But A Way Out is a fantastic one where essentially you and another person are trying to break out of prison. We then have Arb's Animals, which is a 5-minute game here for a 98.38% completion. That is quick and juicy. You love to see it. We then have, wow, I'm already out of breath. I have already wasted myself 4 seconds into this video. This is going to be peak symmetry content right here. But we have Adventure Time Finn and Jake Investigations, which is of course based on the Adventure Time show, I believe. I've never actually watched a single episode of that show. That is unacceptable. We then have Air Conflicts Vietnam, which is a PS3 flight sim combat sort of game. I think there's a few Air Conflicts games, but again, these are ones that I've never really played. We then have Alice Madness Returns, which is a fantastic horror kind of spin on Alice in Wonderlands. Essentially, she's on acid the entire time is a pretty good way of summing this game up. We then have Alien Rage, which doesn't have a platinum, but it does have a 100%. And you do know I love to see the 100% covered. We then have Alien Isolation, which, in fact, we've got 2 Alien games here. We've got Colonial Marines. You don't have the DLC yet, which I think is called Stasis. I love the Alien universe. I'm very excited to try Dark Descent when that platinum becomes obtainable. But Alien Isolation, fantastic game. It's a chef's kiss right there. But Alien Colonial Marines, pretty poop. I weirdly liked the game, but I think that was more just I had fun playing it with another friend. The game itself sucks. But I do kind of want to do the trophies one day. I'm in this weird sort of limbo where I'm like, oh, do I do it? Do I put PS3 on my account? I'm not too entirely sure. We'll sort of, I guess we'll see. The never-ending backlog is painful. We then have Alone in the Dark, kind of like me right now. Also, if the lighting's a bit off or the audio's a bit off for this video, I do apologize. I've moved stuff around. I haven't fully set it up. I was just keen to make a video for you guys and talk to you again. I've missed you all. I've missed you all. But we then have AO Tennis 2, which is a tennis game, believe it or not. I know, it's hard to believe. We then have Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel, which is the obtainable one. This is not the one with the infamous masks trophy that everyone gets flagged for every 4 seconds on PSNP. Assassin's Creeds, we only have Ahmed, where are the Assassin's Creeds? Where? I've been gone for 2 months. You had 2 months to make this list thorough, and you haven't. I can't believe it. This is unacceptable. I'm upset. We have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which is, of course, is unobtainable. The servers did shut down. Gonna be comfortable here and say you have not done the multiplayer, so this is an unobtainable platinum, sadly. We then have Assassin's Creed 2, which I like to see. This is a great one. 100%, love to see it. Assassin's Creed 3, servers are also down again, of course. Well, actually, I think they are temporarily up currently. I think Ubisoft, as of like today, accidentally turned them on. Don't rush to go get these done. I can't imagine they'll stay up long. I can't wait for this video to age poorly and then be up for the next 5 years. We then have Assassin's Creed Revelations on the PS3, which did have multiplayer. Now you have the Platinum, which makes me think that you do have the multiplayer done, unless of course there was a multiplayer DLC, although I don't believe there was. We then have Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was sort of the in-between between Black Flag and Unity, wherein you play an Irish assassin turned Templar in the Atlantic Ocean. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool one in there. They essentially just take the name Templar and Assassin and they swap them. Nothing else really changes, but it was cool. I enjoyed it. We then have Back 4 Blood Platinum. This hurts me because the Nightmare trophies refuse to pop for me. I've still... Act 2 I've done like 8 times for no luck. The game itself's pretty fun. I would say the Back 4 Blood sort of suffers from... They took a really fun formula with the whole Left 4 Dead sort of formula, and they kind of just made it really unnecessarily complicated. But besides that, the game is quite fun. They get into a gaggle of Batmans here with Arkham Asylum. You dabbled, you dipped your toe in. You didn't really do too much though. You got a bit further with City, but again, probably wasn't your thing, and then you smashed out 3 Telltale Batmans here. We then get into some Battlefield, which is a series I've been chipping away at myself. Battlefield 1, you've got the Platinum but not the DLC, and the DLC kind of is semi-rough. Essentially, you do have to get a lot of weapons. Now, you can get the weapons dropped for you, which is nice. I had a very good friend of mine do that for a lot of me. Shout out to Dibble from Missing Collectible. But then you also have the operations trophies, and these are the rough ones because you need 16 people just to start a match, and it is hard to get 16 people together to start a match. Those are the 2 trophies I've left myself. We then have Battlefield 2042 twice. I'm mixed on this game. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's okay. It's one that I'm sort of trying to work at the moment. We have a bit of a boost going for the Hazard Zone currently. Sorry guys that I'm never around for the boosts. I do apologize. We will get it done, but it's okay. They had a really cool concept with the whole portal mode thing where you've got different eras fighting one another in conquest battles, but they don't use it. It's a side thing, and it just doesn't... The game sort of, I would say, lacks identity, and I think that is where it really fails where other Battlefields did quite well, such as 3 and 4 here. Now, Hardline, 100%, I love to see that. The DLC's got some very grindy trophies with things like 10,000 kills with certain guns, but you smashed it out, and I'm proud of you, Ahmed. That is a great job. Battlefield 5, this is free on Plus. You smashed it out in a week. It's a World War II Battlefield. It's nothing special, but you've done a fantastic job there. And then the really impressive one, Bad Company 2, which is a very grindy one. The servers are shutting down at the end of the year, so Ahmed, jump on those DLC trophies. I dare you. We then have Bayonetta here, followed by 2 stacks of Beyond Two Souls, and then only 2 Bioshocks with the PS3 for the first game, and Infinite. No DLC done. I am curious, do you plan on doing 2 at some point? I would actually say that 2 is probably my favorite, weirdly enough. We then get some Bloodbath here, followed by a bit of Brave, which I'm not. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. This game hurt my brain. So it's a twin stick top-down sort of thing where you play 2 brothers, only you play them both simultaneously, and they're controlled by like the 2 different analog sticks. So one brother will be this one and one brother will be this one, and you've got to move them both around at once. It hurt my brain in ways I can't describe. And the last of the bees is Bulletstorm, which is a fantastic first-person shooter with a lot of variety with the different kills that you can do. Ooh, we are now moving into a very, very impressive list here of 1,000,000 Call of Duties. So we have COD Classic 100%, Advanced Warfare's Platinum. I do recommend doing the zombies at some point. I'm doing it currently myself. Shout out to IMUta for the hard carries. You're a bloody legend, mate. But there's some good DLC to clean up right there. We then have Black Ops, no DLC. Cold War, you're getting close. Now you're missing 7 trophies. I can near put money on it being the Zombie Chronicles. That's not what it's called. Dead Ops Arcade, that's what it's called. I can near put money on it being that you have missing. You do have the Platinum in Black Ops 2, which is really impressive. That means that you got the rank stuff done before that shut. We then have Black Ops 3's Platinum, which is another one that I need to do myself. 2 Platinums for Ghosts, again, no DLC. I'm noticing you don't really do DLC too much. I assume that's just because you can't be bothered to buy it. And you just want to move on to other games. Let me know in the comments if that is correct, of course. We then have Infinite Warfare's Platinum, Modern Warfare 2, 2 Remastered, 3's Platinum, Modern Warfare 1 Remastered, World at War, and to round it out, you've dabbled in World War II, but I'm guessing you didn't really enjoy it quite as much, which is funny because that's actually probably one of my favorites. It's the perfect example of a popcorn flick movie. You shut your brain off and you laugh at the pretty explosions. We then have Call of Juarez Bound in Blood, which I think was the bad one. It is a juicy ultra rare, so it's nice to see that. Cars 2, Cars 3, based on the is it Pixar? Yeah, Pixar movies, great movies. Concrete Genie, this was actually the first game I streamed way back in the day. You play as a boy who makes magical monsters on walls. It's pretty fun, it's nothing special. The DLC sucks because it's VR only, so the base game's not VR only, but the DLC is, which that got me too. Control, you're a woman in a paranormal bureau throwing concrete around at psycho demons. It's pretty fun. It's made by the same people who did Alan Wake, which reminds me, I need to start Alan Wake at some point. We then get into Counter-Strike, PC, famous, a lot of knife costumes go for $1 million. The Crisis series, which is another one I really need to do at some point, and I'm super impressed that you got 2 and 3 done, because I think they had kind of annoying multiplayer in there. And as you can see, the servers have shut down for number 2, as indicated by the exclamation mark there, with 16 unobtainable trophies. Dante's Inferno, you did that. Well, there goes my DLC theory, because you did the DLC for Dante's Inferno. Fantastic game. It's kind of a God of War clone. You go to hell, you beat up a lot of knights, and you see a lot of boobies. Dark Knights with Poe and Munro. I have no idea what this is. Only one Darksiders, and you only dabbled in it a tiny bit. I actually quite like this series. Every game is kind of different than the last, which is interesting. But I got a kick out of all of them. We then have Days Gone here, which is an open world zombie apocalypse kind of game, followed by 2 more open world zombie apocalypse type games in Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. Funny enough, I'm actually starting Dead Island 2 very, very soon. I do need to finish these 2 at some point though as well, because I think there is multiplayer in them and I probably want to knock that out sooner rather than later. We then have some oh no, we got some Dead Rising. I nearly missed them there. But I got them, and that's where it counts. Geez, I talk shit. We have the first game. Oh, sorry, we got the second game, but the base version. You've dabbled in, you haven't got the platinum. And then you got the expansion, which is Dead Rising 2 off the record, where I believe this is the one where you play as Frank instead. I think it's essentially the same game, but as Frank, who's the main guy in the first and the 4th game. Although we don't talk about the 4th game. We then have 3 Dead Spaces here with 1, 2, and 3, believe it or not. You haven't done the DLC for 2 or 3, which is fair. Although I will say the DLC for Dead Space 3 kind of is its one redeeming factor, so maybe look into that one at some point. We've got some Dead to Rights Retribution, followed by Deadpool, which I believe is delisted these days. We've got some Deep Black. I'm loving the PS3 representation, repping here. Although I guess this is quite an old account because we've seen some stuff from like 2011 to 2015 in here as well. We then get Deliver Us the Moon, which I've never had a game break on me more than Deliver Us the Moon. I had to uninstall and reinstall this game like 4 times to get the platinum. But essentially you're an astronaut on the moon trying to work out what happened to the station that's there. We then have Detroit Become Human, followed by a bit of cheeky Dishonored. Disorder 6 I've never heard of. And then this one hurts. Driver San Francisco. It's got a lot of unobtainables, and you have a lot less than what the unobtainables are, so it's another unobtainable platinum. I am sorry to say, Ahmed. Duke Nukem Forever here, followed by Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard, which is about the most glorious name I can think of for a PlayStation 3 title. enemy front, followed by the top-down thing that was Escape Dead Island, which is kind of cool to see because I don't see this one too often when people complete the Dead Island series. We then have Fear 3. This game is fantastic. Well, it's the weakest of the Fear games, but all of them are pretty good, to be honest. We only have a couple Far Cries, though, with Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon 4, which is now unobtainable because the multiplayer servers for the base game have been crapping themselves, and then Far Cry Classic, which is the original game remastered to the PS3. We then have a absolute truckload of FIFAs with 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, no 20, I can't count, 21, 22, 22, 23. How's that? I nearly got all the way without making a mistake. Anyone who knows me is proud of that effort. But there's a lot of unobtainables there. In fact, pretty much every FIFA game has had its servers shut up till 2020, which I assume is probably shutting down this year or is already shut down. I'm not entirely sure. I assume it's probably already shut down the way FIFA games work. But that is an impressive list right there, mate. We then have First Class Trouble, which is a kind of weird knockoff of Among Us, where you're on a boat trying to work out stuff. Game of Thrones, now the picture hasn't loaded. I'm gonna say they're both the same amount of trophies, which I'm gonna say that's the Telltale one right there, because I think there's 2 stacks of it, and I think that the actually good Game of Thrones game doesn't have 2 stacks, so I think I'm right on the money. What is my prize? We then have some Ghost of Tsushima. You've done the platinum, but you haven't done the raids and stuff like that, which is some stuff I did very recently, which was kind of good fun. But I would recommend doing that DLC, actually. I would say that all of the DLC for Ghost of Tsushima is actually pretty solid. We then have some Goat Simulator here. You're running around an open sandbox as a goat. A massive bulk of God of Wars, which I always love to see, including Ragnarok on the PS4, which I've seen that mostly on the PS5 in this series so far. But we have God of War 2018, God of War 2, God of War 3, God of War Ragnarok, Ascension, Chains of Olympus, and Sparta. Trying to think, is that all of them, or are you missing one of the PSP games? I think you've done all of them. I think you've got them all here. Do correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe it was 3 spin-offs on the PSP, and I think you've got them there in Ascension, Chains of Olympus, and Ghosts of Sparta. The 2 remakes and the original trilogy, which are the good God of Wars, because unpopular opinion is unpopular, but the 2018 and Ragnarok just don't cut it for me. We then get Goosebumps, which is a point-and-click adventure based on the children's books from the Goosebumps series. Handball 16, this is European handball, which is kind of the like fast-paced soccer, but with your hands instead of your feet. It's kind of really cool. Heavy Fire Afghanistan, these are your big tank games. Shattered Spear's the same, you're in a big tank. You're looking at it from the first person's perspective of looking out the windows and stuff. I've heard very good things about these games, but they're on PS3, so I've never really had much of a chance to knock them out. Heavy Rain, Jason. We then get Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, which is a game I really want to do, but I can't find it on the store anymore, and I haven't seen any conversation about it being delisted. But I can't find it at all. But it's one I'd love to try at some point. Homefront: The Revolution. This is crappy Call of Duty. I saw Black Clouds. So did I, because it's raining outside. Ice Age 4, Continental Drift. Where's Nutty's Adventure? Or Scrat's Adventure, or whatever it's called. But Ice Age, it's based on the Ice Age series, believe it or not. We then get 3 Infamouses here with 1, 2, and Second Son. I would say that 2 is probably my favorite. It is a great big open world sort of superhero slash villain sandboxes. Think Prototype, but worse. We then have the Iron Man 2 movie tie-in spin-off, which I think is actually pretty expensive these days should you want to buy it at some point. I think it is actually pretty pricey. It Takes Two, I believe this is made by the same people who did A Way Out, which we saw previously. This one, you and a partner are essentially two dolls trying to work out a divorce, which is quite grim. I do really want to play this game, actually. It just came on Plus recently, and but I don't have any friends, so now I'm sad again. We've got Kick-Ass 2 here, based on the Kick-Ass movies. I've heard the game is actually pretty good. It's got a very high completion rate, though. Killer is Dead, I've never heard of, so do let me know in the comments what Killer is Dead actually is. We then get some kill zones here with 1, 2, and 3. The fact that you have the platinum in 2 is very, very impressive, so congrats there, Ahmed. Unfortunately, the multiplayer servers have shut down in 2 and 3, so there's a lot of unobtainable DLCs right there. Essentially, anytime you see the exclamation mark, it means that there are unobtainables on that list. This is an extension that you can get for PSMP, and it's really, really good. I would highly recommend it, and I will put a link in the description because it is amazing. We then have LA Noire. This was made by Australian devs, so we are the best, whoop whoop. That studio promptly shut after LA Noire was released, but it doesn't change the fact that LA Noire is actually a really, really good game. You're a detective in sort of late 1950s, early 1960s, and you are solving crimes with hilarious looking mocap. It's brilliant, highly recommend it. I'd love to see you finish this, Ahmed, if you get the chance. We get some Last Stop here, which is kind of a really bad knockoff of Telltale. The story loses the plot. You're essentially following 3 different stories at once that kind of intertwine for a final act, and that final act is balls to the walls insane, and it doesn't really work for me. I was kind of on board until that point, and then it just completely lost me. We then have Late Shift, which is another one I really want to do at some point. This is kind of like a movie game where you watch a movie and make a bunch of decisions. We have a lot of Life as Strangers here with the double whammy of the first game, the second game, which might be the worst Telltale clone, sort of in that genre of watch some cutscenes, make some decisions I've ever played. I hate the Life is Strange 2. I'll be honest, I thought it was utter trash. I'm not the biggest fan of this sort of genre in general. I kind of get a bit bored if I'm just watching a bunch of cutscenes and hitting A periodically. But I do appreciate the rest of the series. 2 though, too bad. 2 was so bad that I took like a 3-week break from trophies. We then have Before the Storm twice, and my personal favorite, True Colors, which I thought was actually quite good. Mafia 2, GTA clone, but really good. Mafia 2 is fantastic. What is not fantastic is Jimmy's Vendetta, which is the second of the DLCs. Essentially, you've got to drive 1,000 miles, and the easiest way to do that is just to fall through the map for like 12 hours. Except that the game will crash on you constantly, so you've got to do that 12 hours, 12,000 times. It's rough, but the base game, fantastic. We got Magus, which was kind of like an original Easy Peasy on the PlayStation 3. Remember the days when an Easy Peasy was like 3 hours and not 3 minutes? Those were the days, were they not? We then get some Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is Marvel. It's fantastic, of course. Oh, actually, that's talking out of my ass there. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a tale of two types. I'm talking about the wrong game. This is the Telltale one. I'm talking about the one that's got combat. The Telltale one I've never actually played. Ignore everything I just said. I just realized that it's got Telltale in the name. Story driven, the same as the rest of the Telltales. You played one, you played them all. I haven't played this one myself. I'll probably get around to it at some point. We then get Master Reboot, followed by Max Payne 3, which you did the Platinum in. No DLC. The DLC is all multiplayer, which means that is sadly unobtainable. But the Platinum is very impressive. There is a trophy called New York Minute, where essentially you have to beat the game on the hardest difficulty with only a minute to live, and you've got to get kills to sort of replenish some of that time. So you're constantly going against the fact that the enemies hit like trucks, and also the fact that you need to kill them, otherwise your timer runs out, which is a really interesting balance, and it worked really, really well. I would have loved to have done this on Symmetry myself. We then have the Medal of Honor PS3 games. Frontline, I think, was one of my first ever first-person shooters, and I have such fond memories. The Storming of D-Day is incredible in this game. Obviously, it's aged like a potato in the sun, but my little child baby brain remembers this as being this epic battlefield and all this sort of stuff, which, to be fair, for the time was very impressive for the technology available. But it's a fantastic game, and the other two Medal of Honors there are kind of the reboots, the modern reboots that they tried to make that didn't really do too well. They were trying to compete with Call of Duty, and it just didn't work, unfortunately. We then get some Metro Last Light, the only Metro you've got here, which I would recommend the Redux games if you decide you want to go back at some point. Those are pretty good, but the PS3 ones are a bit rough. We've got some Minecraft here with the PS3 stack. You got the Platinum, but not the 100%. And I mean, just look at that. 29 of 94 trophies, and that's the Platinum. Oof, there's a lot of DLC. We then have the two Telltale seasons of the game with Story Mode and Story Mode Season 2, which I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about Season 2. Season 1 was okay. I remember playing it at a mate's at one point, and it just didn't do anything for me. But to be fair, that sort of style of game just doesn't, so I can appreciate that other people love it. It's just not for me personally. We then have some Monster High New Ghoul in School. I see what you did there, and I'm impressed. Monster Jam Battlegrounds. This is a monster truck game, I believe. Mortal Kombat on the PS3. I believe this is, yep, unobtainable trophies. Murder Soul Suspect twice. I have no memory of this game. I have this Platinum, but I have no memory of this game. You play a ghost detective who's trying to solve who killed him as well as another crime simultaneously, I think. But that's all I remember. Peppa Pig. This was my Platinum 250 myself. Had to save it for the big milestone. I am now eternally proud of myself. But even for the meme, this game was pretty rough, not gonna lie. There is another one though, and you better believe your boy's gonna do it. We then get some My Name is Mayo goodness here with 1, 2, and 3. Followed by that weird tie-in NCIS game that I think was made by Telltale, pre-Telltale doing like movie IPs and tie-ins and stuff. I think they did stuff like this, CSI and Lost, which that's one way to start your career. We then have Nightbook, which I believe I've heard of, but I'm not entirely sure what it is, so let me know in the comments. Followed by Oxenfree, which I've heard very good things about, with Oxenfree 2 having just come out as well. I do need to get around to doing this one at some point. Alrighty, and next up we have Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. We actually have a bunch of people doing Pac-Man games in the Discord at the moment, which is funny given that I've never played a single one of them. We then followed by Painkiller Hell and Damnation. Is this game about my life? Is this the story of my life right here? I've never heard of this game. It sounds terrifying. We then have Payday 1 and 2 here. I have been kind of tempted to do Payday 2 at some point. It just has 4 million DLC, so I'm sort of on the fence. I would love to be hard carried in it at some point, but I'm a little baby and I'm scared. We then have PlayStation Home, which was the weird sort of introduction to PlayStation 3 that they had for a bit. Unfortunately, the servers have shut, which means the entire thing is unobtainable, as you can see there. But you got it done, which is pretty impressive. Ahmed. We then have Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands, followed by the Prison Break tie-in game. Now, I'm a sucker for the first like 2 seasons of Prison Break. The rest can sod off. It sucks. But the first 2 seasons is great. The game here is based on the first season where they're in the prison trying to break out. And it is not good, but I love it. It's so like just cheesy and janky and oh, it's great. So I love to see this here, Ahmed. I actually think this might be the first time we've seen this game on the Platinum standard. So I'm very impressed there, mate. I love to see it. We then have Pro Evolution Soccer here with 2010, 12, 13, and 14. Unfortunately, 3 of them do have unobtainable trophies, but you did smash out 2 of them for quite a few ultra rare platinums there, so I love to see that. Prototype 2, this is the easier of the 2, but they're both very fun open world sandboxes where you play a prototype mutant evil villain dude who it's a pretty fun game. I really enjoy these. The first one's a lot harder because you got challenges as well as an actual pretty hard difficulty. But I love to see this one right here as well. We then have Quantum of Solace, which it's a James Bond third-person cover shooter, kind of think like Gears of War, but with James Bond, which is a terrifying crossover when you think about it. I love to see this right here. In fact, I really love to see this right here. Unfortunately, it had multiplayer and is now very unobtainable. Red Dead Redemption, you dipped your toe in, you dipped it right back out. Remember me? Remember me? I used to make videos. I'm back. Maybe, fingers crossed. I better see those fingers crossed. We then have a lot of good Resident Evils here with 5 and 6 platinums, no 100%. I don't blame you. Revelations 1 and 2 I really love to see here because these had multiplayer and the raid mode in the first game is awful. So I love to see that you smash these out. This is one of those series I really want to get done myself. My niche, my favorite genre is by far horror, so I love to see cover with some of these ones and things like Operation Raccoon City. Resistance 3, this is actually a very fun game as well. This is a first-person shooter where you fight aliens. It was the last one in the Resistance series, which is a shame because they're actually kind of like decent. Resistance 3 was a lot of fun to play in co-op. I have fond memories of doing this one years and years ago. This one also didn't have multiplayer from memory, so it's still obtainable. We then have Road 96, which is a fantastic little indie game where you play as a procedurally random generated kid who is trying to get out of the country. So essentially you are traveling north with very limited resources that you sort of got to gather during events on the way in order to be able to cross the border. It's very cool. You got to watch your money, you got to watch your energy levels, you got to watch getting in dodgy taxis. It's great. I highly recommend Road 96. I think a sequel came out very recently, so I'm very much looking forward to getting that done at some point. Rocket Bird's Hard-Boiled Chicken. This is a weird sort of side-scrolly, stealthy sort of game. I've been meaning to do this myself for quite a while. I believe it was free on Plus like 5 years ago. But it's always looked interesting. I believe it and the first game were both on the Vita originally, but have been obviously ported across to the PS3 and PS4. We then have Rogue Company, followed by some Saints Rows here with 4, Get Out of Hell, and the third. I love Saints Row, but I really miss the days of Saints Row 2 so much. I wish that game had trophies, because that was a great Saints Row right there. We then have Saw 2, which is a game I would love to do. Like I said, horror is my bread and butter, so I'm very fond of the PS3 Saws, even if 2 is not quite as good as 1, but to get them physical these days, you need to put a mortgage on your house. We then have Scourge The Outbreak, followed by Seashees. I knew that one was going to get to me. I saw it on the list, and I thought, all right, slow down before you get to it, and I didn't, and I made mistakes. I can't even say it when I'm saying it slow. She sees red. Wow, that was a struggle. I was on struggle street there, but I flub words at the best of times, so I was screwed seeing that one. I've never heard of the game. She Sees Red. I got it there. Second try. That's all it took. You ignore the 15 attempts I had to get there. We then have Sleeping Dogs. Fantastic sort of Grand Theft Auto clone, but with a real emphasis on melee sort of martial arts combat that is fantastic. Followed by Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. The only Sly Cooper you've got here, which is interesting. We then have 2 Sniper Elites. I really need to finish the third one myself. I adore this series. I'm actually working on Sniper Elite 5 at the moment. Actually, no, you've got multiple Sniper Elites. What am I talking about? In fact, what's the date? The 21st. You are working on Sniper Elite 5 today, which is, I'm also working on Sniper Elite 5 today. That's some sniper inception right there. You love to see it. Fantastic games. You are probably the scariest man in World War II, Carl Fairbairn. It doesn't matter where you put him, he's going to kill absolutely everyone with just a sniper rifle and do it quite comfortably. These games have a bit of challenge in them. The authentic difficulties are actually pretty tough. I would love to see you do Sniper Elite 4. Armored is really fun. What am I talking about? You have the platinum for it. I apparently I'm blind. You have the platinum for Sniper Elite 4, so the only one you don't have the platinum for is Sniper Elite 5. The DLC for 4 and 3 are actually pretty good. 4 does have a pretty rough trophy where you have to kill everyone on the map except for 5 brothers, so you've got to scan everyone and make sure they don't kill themselves, because the soldiers have a really bad habit of throwing grenades and then running and standing on the grenades, which myself and my very good friend Bruce worked out the hard way several times. But I love this series. It's probably one of my favorites. I really like Rebellion games just in general, so I love to see that you smash these out here, and I would love to see you maybe finish this series, get that platinum for 5. Good luck. I believe in you, my friend. We then have Sniper Ghost Warrior, which is kind of similar, but also kind of crap. I'm not a big fan of the Ghost Warrior series personally. I do want to do the remasters at some point. I'm just very lazy. We've got a million sound shapes here, followed by spare parts, followed by a really good game in Spec Ops The Line. This is a fantastic third-person cover-based shooter that has some very dark themes that it addresses very well. Split Second, this is a good racer on the PS3 from memory, followed by SpongeBob, Plankton's Robotic Revenge, SpongeBob, not Battle for Bikini Bottom, which means it's a good game. State of the Mind, Steins Gate, ooh, Strange Brigade, I love to see this. This is another Rebellion game like the Sniper Elites right here. This is one I've really been meaning to do myself. I bought the complete edition a while ago now. I believe someone actually in the comments of one of the videos pointed out it was on sale, and that's how I picked it out, so thank you to them. But Strange Brigade, you smash it out here, and I would love to do it myself at some point, hopefully very soon. Stray, this just left plus, but it is a platforming cat game. It's okay. It's okay. Tales of the Borderlands, this is Telltale's take on a Borderlands game. Tennis World Tour 2, the second tennis game on this list, and a juicy sub 1 platinum, so you'd love to see that there. You smashed it out in a month and 2 weeks, which is very impressive. Terminator Salvation and Resistance, Salvation being, of course, one of the original easy peasy games on the PS3. Wow, that takes me back. All you had to do was beat it on hard. That was it, and people did it a lot. And these days, we look back so fondly on the game. The Artful Escape, it's fun. You're essentially just running right and playing music. It's pretty good. It's pretty simple. The Book of Unwritten Tales 2, this is one I was curious about when it was on Plus, but never got a chance to actually play. So Ahmed, do let me know if this is actually a good game. The Bunker and the Bureau, XCOM Declassified. So XCOM is a tile-based strategic game. It's fantastic and I adore it. Declassified is a third-person cover-based shooter that is just a Gears of War clone, essentially, and it is average at best, and probably just plain bad. It is not a great game, but I am impressed that you smashed out the platinum right there. The Complex, ooh, this is impressive, but also terrifies me. So, you have all of the Dark Pictures anthology right here. House of Ashes, Little Hope, Man of Medan, and The Devil Within. I'm doing Man of Medan at the moment. Now, you did them all, essentially, besides The Devil in Me, you did the other 3 back to back to back to back. That is so many playthroughs. That is so many playthroughs of those games you did back to back to back. Ahmed, are you okay? Do you need a hug? Blink twice if you need help. I'm struggling on Man of Medan, if I'm honest. I love Until Dawn, but Man of Medan and not being able to skip those cutscenes and having to do 4 playthroughs, I'm on struggle street, if I'm honest. It's a cool premise. It's a fun premise, but the characters are rough. I am hopefully gonna do the rest of the series at some point, so fingers crossed on that. We then have The Darkness 2, which is a very fun first-person shooter where you have demon tentacle arms, which is great fun. I actually love the Darkness games. I would have loved to have done this and the first game had I had the chance. We then have Evil Within, which I need to finish myself at some point. The platinum is very impressive. Akumu mode is actually pretty challenging, so I love to see that one right there. Evil Within 2, less challenging if we're being honest. The fact that it's got an 8 out of 10 difficulty on PSMP is hilarious, given that you can just use a cheat code to be invincible and never die. Kind of takes away the 8 out of 10 if you ask me. But the game itself is pretty good. I actually like all of the changes that they made from the first game. It also functionally just works better than the first game, which definitely had its struggles. So I love to see these 2 completions here. This is another one I'd be curious to see if you do the 100% on that at some point. The Gardens Between, this is a fun, very quick little puzzle game, which has a very, very sad story. When I realized what was going on, it was actually quite impactful. So I highly recommend this one. It's free on PS Plus Extra, should you want to have a crack at some point. Last of Us, we've got 1, 2, and 1 remastered. No 1 PS5 just yet. Although it does appear that Ahmed doesn't have a PS5 just yet, so maybe in the future, perhaps. The Order 1886, I would love a sequel to this. I love this game. It's relatively short, it's relatively cruisy, but it was a really interesting premise. You were just fighting a bunch of werewolves and 1 random vampire. The Quarry, this is another like the Dark Pictures, it's the same devs, Supermassive. This is another one I really want to do at some point. In fact, I'm actually tempted to start this one when I finish Until Dawn, maybe. Until Dawn. Yeah, well, I want to do Until Dawn as well, so I'll probably do it first. Essentially, my goal is just to chip away at all of the Supermassive horror games at some point through the next little period of time. But you smash this one out in a week, which is impressive because you have to do a lot of playthroughs. We then have The Raven, which I believe Trophy Pop might have done a video on way back in the day. Ever since, this game has been on my radar as well. It's essentially you're doing a heist, I believe. You're breaking into a museum or something. Ahmed, do let me know if this one is actually worth having a play of at some point. The Town of Light, I've been meaning to play this one as well. Sadly, when I bought Martha is Dead, I didn't buy the edition that has this game for free. So I'm just waiting on a deep sale for this one at some point. It's a walking sim horror that I've heard mixed to probably negative things about, but I love horror, so I'll probably give it a try at some point. We then have all of the Telltales in the world with The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead, and The Walking Dead. You've got pretty much all of them here, including the definitive series. Whilst I have none on my account, I do need to do these at some point, but it is super impressive to see this stack of it right here, mate. We then have the best Telltale here in The Wolf Among Us, which is another one I really need to do on Symmetry, so I love to see it right here. We then have Titanfall 2. You smash this out in a week. I need to do the Become the Master trophy at some point. I'm very lazy on it. I've never actually really tried. I did the game, went away for Christmas, came back and had forgotten how to play it, so I just didn't try the gauntlet and never have. Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Awesome little sub 1% right here. Sadly, the DLC is, of course, unobtainable because it was multiplayer based. The Division, followed by some Tomb Raider here with the 2013 reboot twice. There's a lot of med packs you had to pick up to level with, my friend. That's terrifying. And then, of course, Underworld, which I think was the last of the Tomb Raider games before the reboot. I could, of course, be wrong. We then have Top Spin, which is another tennis game, followed by Truck Racer, which speaks for itself. Twin Mirror, which I believe is a walking simmy / horror sort of thing. We've got some Uncharteds here with 2 PS3, 3 PS3. Of course, the multiplayer is, of course, unobtainable. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. I haven't made one of these in like 2 months, and my voice wasn't ready. I am dying right now. But we then have 4, which you haven't done the DLC. This is DLC I need to get done myself at some points. And of course, you've got Drake's Fortune. So no Lost Legacy or Golden Abyss. We then have Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition, which I've never heard of before, if I'm honest. Followed by Until Dawn, which I just said I really need to do myself at some point. Vampire's interesting. It's made by the people who did Life is Strange. You can tell that when you play it. The combat's kind of like Bloodborne-ish, but janky. Kind of more like Thymasia's a good example of the level of sort of polish. but the trophies essentially make it that you don't play the game properly because you're just forever underleveled. You got trophies for eating everyone. You got trophies for not eating everyone. So you just, and that's tied to the XP that you earn. So if you're going for the platinum in one run, you're essentially just forever underleveled. It's a whole thing, but I did enjoy the game, I think. I'm kind of mixed on it, but I think I did ultimately like it more than I disliked it. Virginia is a walking sim and not a particularly good one. You have to play it twice, which... Any walking sim that decides that you need to play it multiple times for a trophy, we're not friends. I'm not getting you a Christmas card. Virtual tennis, another tennis game. I can tell you like your tennis, Ahmed. We were here, followed by Whitetail Challenge, which I believe is a hunting game. We've got some Wolfensteins here with the new Colossus Platinum, which, oof, I love to see that. That is very, very impressive, my friend. I've been meaning to do Mein Leben at some point myself. The New Order and the Old Blood, which is another one I need to finish. I've got lazy with the challenges. I think I have like 2 left. But you smashed this out in 3 days, which is very, very impressive. We've got another racing game here, followed by quite a bit of WWE, which I love to see in 12, 13. Legends of WrestleMania, which is probably my favorite one ever, that is on the PS3 onwards, because some of those PS2 ones are, ooh, they are delicious. And then we got SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, X-Blaze Lost Memory, Zombie Army 4, and Zombie Army Trilogy, which I believe I'm doing with Shaz at some point, who has been doing very similar videos recently, and he's done a fantastic job at them. Do give his channel a look if you get time, because he makes videos more often than I do, and they're actually pretty good. So shout out to Shaz right there. But that is Ahmed's list, and it is a really good list, but we're not done. Let's go up to the old statistics. Let's do a cheeky scroll, and we'll go across to his stats, and we'll have a gander once the internet loads. 296 games for a 42.99% average, which is great. Anything under 50, I love. 11,500 trophies for an 88.6% completion rate, which of course is very meaty, and it's an old account. You've been going for about 12 years, 2011 to 2023. I can math, I promise. And you earn trophies at every point in the day, which is terrifying because I can't do that. I need to sleep. But that has been this week's Platinum. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Do let me know in the comments below what your favorite type of potato chip is. And like I said, I'm gonna make a community post sort of labeling what my plans for the channel and stuff is in the future. I do apologize, it's been a while. I have been a busy little bee, but hopefully these will be sort of semi more frequent again. And until the next video, I will catch you later. I miss you. Goodbye.